Hello and welcome to the Sky Blue Times YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about the deal for Marc Guehi, transfer from Crystal Palace to Manchester City. What is reported to be a 20 million fee with possible add-ons. I think on top of that it could bring it up a bit. I think there's been reports between 200 to 300k in terms of wages, and then reported today by Romano about that being around 300,000 mark per week, which when you're talking about the quality of the player that he's going to be replacing in some of the senior defenders in Nathan Ake and John Stones, it will be on a lot more than you probably would have expected. And the fact that you have the signing on bonus that he would have got in the summer, so there would have been stuff they would have worked out. I think that's about what you would have expected. But when you're looking at the transfer fee, the total financial package that's going to be there for this defender, when you compare that to the fee you'd pay for somebody like, say, Schlotterbeck in the summer, the total package is going to be lower than the fee just alone for a centre-back similar sort of quality in the summer. Then you add into the fact that this guy is going to be starting for England in the World Cup. He's able to play on both sides, comfortable with both feet. He can play all the way across in a back three as well. He's homegrown. He has 4 or 5 years experience playing in the Premier League, week in, week out. A captain of his side, proven to be a leader, led them to a FA Cup win, sorely for us, but FA Cup win, and then a little bit less so beating Liverpool for the Community Shield. All of these different factors for a centre-back that's going to cost you for a transfer fee around 20 million, and then a financial package, you're still talking 40 million, around that kind of mark all in. That's very good value for money, and that follows on the back of some of the value for money that City would feel like they've got for Kusanov. If we go back quite far, if we look at Shirky, we look at Aït-Nouri in the summer, there's a lot of value for money for Manchester City of late, and this is definitely one of those at a time where City do need another central defender to come in. Now, in the summer, that's where you would expect this move to take place. John Stone's going to depart for free. Nathan Ake, you'd expect to depart. They get a fee. And he moves on to probably somewhere in the Premier League. I think there'll be a lot of suitors for him, given that he's able to play once a week and still add a lot of value with his age, being homegrown, the experience playing at City and so on, despite his kind of fitness struggles. So you'd expect that to happen, and then the new central defender come in. You'd expect then also somebody on loan like Vitor Hayes is then going to come in as well. But when you have the injury of Ruben Dias 4 to 6 weeks, and best case he's coming back first couple of weeks of February, and that's coming back, not playing week in, week out. When you have Josko Vardiol that's out for 4 to 6 months, and best case is going to be able to make maybe the last couple of games, maybe he makes the World Cup, and that'll be a push, and that'll be dependent on him doing very good in his recovery. But that's him pretty much out. That means you've got to move that summer business up, and whether Guehi would have been the number one on the list, I'm not entirely sure for the summer because of the amount of competition all the way around. Liverpool, Arsenal, and plenty of other clubs, Bayern Munich and Real Madrid, reported to have had interest. If you have all of those clubs involved in the summer, I'm not entirely sure that City would be pushing for him as that number one target. But when you have the opportunity to get a jump on all of those players and bring in somebody that would still be on your list, that would still be capable of being your kind of number one pick, and brings all of the qualities that I've just mentioned there, it's a bit of a no-brainer to go for them with that deal that is so valuable to get done in January. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense. They desperately need that. I think we've seen in recent games, and I've got a video on the United game to come out very soon. But when you look at the performances of the young players in that back line, you can see in the United one, without somebody like Ruben Dias that is an organiser, you see in one of the goals the structure is just completely off, and you need more senior defenders in that back line. Nathan Ake, I don't think did a particularly good job in that game, in that aspect. Guehi is somebody that can deliver on that front. And when you're looking at Kusanov, Elaine having to play week in, week out, suddenly this now frees up those guys to be rotated. Somebody like Elaine can come out of the lineup that you don't have to push into starting away from home at St James's Park, at Old Trafford. You don't have to really take the risks in those games, and he can start to bed himself in. So that's one thing, and that kind of partnership of Guehi and Kusanov, I think, is very, very promising. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if we're looking from February onto the end of the season, when you're talking about Guehi coming in, Diaz coming back, Nico G eventually coming back to fitness, some of the other players that come back already, and Marmoush that will be there for the Champions League game, Aït-Nouri that's got his first couple of minutes in the last couple of games. It wouldn't surprise me if from February onwards to May, City are the best team in terms of points on form. That may not be near being enough to win the Premier League title, but I think it's more than plausible with the defenders coming in, the stability comes back, and the quality of these players in that back line, that you do see a really stable and good performance from Manchester City to the end of the season. But you need somebody like Guehi to come in to be able to help deliver that in that back line. So yeah, very important that he comes in. And as I mentioned, really good value for money. First thing, and this is something City fans will know quite well with Nathan Ake, but especially with John Stones. Marc Guehi is somebody that's been available for most of the games that he's played for Crystal Palace. You'll look at somebody in the last few seasons in the Premier League that's hitting 3,000 minutes. I think he had an injury in the 23-24 season that dragged him down a bit there. But for the most part, he is available, and for the most part, he plays for Crystal Palace week in, week out. He can be depended on physically to play week in, week out in that league. Whereas you look at somebody like John Stones, his body has just gone past him. Doesn't know what the injury is, let alone working back to being fit again, despite the incredible quality he does have when fit. When you look at somebody like, let's say, Kyle Walker, who's gone now, but one of his really big traits was that he was always there available to play minutes, and you need those players in the squad. You can't have so many players that have their fitness up in the air. We've looked at this season, looked at last season. You can see the issues that we've had just from players that aren't able to stay fit, and the impact that has. When you look at so many of the teams that have won the Premier League title, including ourselves, for the most part, all the teams that win the title and compete for the title are ones that don't have as bad injuries as the rest of the league. And part of that is built on recruiting players that can be available and can handle the level of minutes. So Guehi absolutely can do that. I was looking at his injury history. So he's got 2 games missed during this season, 25-26, with an ankle problem. He had a knee problem, 23-24, which is why you see this drop here in that season. That was 15 games for him that he missed. He had a groin problem in the 2021 season, which you can see the line drops a little bit here at the beginning. That's because he missed 3 games due to a groin injury. Otherwise, that would be much higher. Bear in mind with the number of games that Palace would play, and then I think that first season will be with Swansea in the Championship. With the number of games that these guys play in comparison to City, an injury can hamper that percentage even more so compared to City. When you're looking at, for most of the seasons we played, we're looking at 60 games, 59, 60, 61. So there's just those extra games that will flatter you a little bit when it comes to the injuries, and the percentage is not looking as bad. But yeah, as I mentioned, with Guehi, point very, very clear there that he's somebody that's available, will be fit to play week in, week out, and that's absolutely something that Manchester City will need. We move on to some other things. I've got loads of stuff in the video just to kind of have that kind of general chat for you different things. I didn't want to make this a kind of very scripted video, although I'd like to do a bit more of them in the future, but the main point is just to kind of go through all of these different things with Guehi. So this is his heat map from the last 4 seasons across his time in the Premier League, somebody that prefers to play on the left-hand side. He is right-footed. I think he's the 6th most two-footed player in the Premier League. City would now have, I think, 3 or 4 of that top 6 with signing Marc Guehi. But he wants to play on that left-hand side. Really comfortable playing there. Can play on the right, as we've seen for England, and we've seen in other games for Crystal Palace, but for the most part, he's somebody that plays on that left-hand side. So when you've got Josko Gvardiol out of the team for the 6 months until next season, his spot is clear as day there. Somebody like Elaine can play on either side. I think he'd probably prefer a little bit to play on that right-hand side. Looks a little bit more comfortable in some of the games that I have seen, but can do a job on that left-hand side, as we've seen for us. Somebody like Kusanov prefers to play on the right-hand side. Diaz prefers to play on the right-hand side. Somebody like Vitor Reis, he can play on either side, probably prefers to play on the right. So we definitely did need a player that is comfortable playing on the left, that could be a starter on the left, but then also gives you that versatility that if Josko Gvardiol's back, fit, and at the level we expect him to get to, there is no clash in terms of he's able to play on that right-hand side alongside with him. So yeah, that's that one. Threat from set pieces, not somebody that scored a volume of goals. So when you're looking at, I think, so this season, 3 goals, 3 assists for Crystal Palace, 1 goal, 1 assist for England. You look at 24-25 season, 3 goals, 2 assists for Crystal Palace, 2 assists for England. He is somebody that is involved in the opposition box. He's able to score from set pieces. That is arriving onto free kicks like he does for England very well here. Arriving over there to get the flick on for a Palace goal here in this top corner. Willing to take the shot on the edge of the box. Screamer of a goal he scored there. Arriving at the back post over on this one here. Guehi is somebody that is going to be a threat for set pieces. We've missed that with Josko Vardio now. We started to build up good momentum from corner routines particularly. And Vardio was able to score, flick-ons, bring it down for other players. That's now gone. Guehi's able to step up into that role and offer a threat. The volume, I wouldn't be entirely convinced about yet. And that's something you have to wait and see. Obviously, you're coming from Crystal Palace where perhaps not a team that has really turned the screw on the corner kicks. Like Manchester City could do, that we've seen in recent weeks with Josko Vardio. So making him that kind of main threat that you gear the ball, you gear the whole routine to find the ball to him to be that main threat. We could see him really rack up a good couple goals from City towards the end of the season from these situations. But the main thing is he is a threat. He's more than capable. That is at the back post to get his foot on it, whether it's in the air with his headers, from free kicks we see from England. Or even for flick-ons as well. He's dangerous from all of these situations. So that's an important thing to add to that back line. Especially for a team that has so little of those players. If Diaz is playing, not somebody that's a big threat from set pieces. So when you're adding him in, that will make all the difference. This is a look at a kind of rough idea of the 25-26 squad for the knockout rounds of the Champions League. So I've left out of this one some other players. So Guardiola, long-term injury, Stones, Kovacic. I've left them out to one side as well as Ortega and Ake, which is then why you've got this list here of 6 out of 8 homegrown spots taken, 14 out of 17 for the non-homegrown spots taken, and then you've got that squad size of 23. So we still have room for Vardio, for Kovacic, for Ortega to come back in to that non-homegrown limit. They could come in and take those spots. You've still got room for Stones and Ake to come in and take those final 2 spots in the homegrown list. But that shows you how close that we are. And in terms of making changes this season, this window, further changes on top, you need to have outgoings in that case. And then obviously for the summer, those are players that we'd expect to move on. In the case of Stones, Kovacic, Ake, Ortega, you expect those guys to move on. That then gives you the room to bring in more players on top of that. Somebody like Bernardo Silva expected to go on a free. That's another non-homegrown spot that is freed up. But this is just to give you an idea of what that could look like. And that's still a very good squad for the second half of the season, despite the injury to Josko Vardio with Ruben Dias back fit. You add Guehi in there, is able to start week in, week out as that left centre-back. You add in Anton Semenyo that's able to come in and be that consistent player on the wing that we've lacked through injury and poor performances from the other players. And then that starts to then add back to your depth and give you those options. Obviously, Aït-Nouri is now back. So you have those 2 options on that side. You're not dependent on Nathan Ake needing to play week in, week out. As a left-back, he'd be the 3rd choice. As a centre-back, he's going to be the 5th choice behind those players. As you've noticed in the last few games, Guardiola hasn't been starting him as a centre-back. It's been as the left-back, which I think is quite telling. And I'd also think it's plausible that Ake departs at the end of January, and that's probably something that's kind of up in the air. So if Diaz is back fit first 2 weeks of February, if Guehi comes in, does very, very well, settled, etc. If Nathan Ake gets a good fee from a Premier League club, wants to go for the minutes himself and has that push, knowing that this is a player you're probably going to be moving on in the summer anyway. And as we've seen from recent games, he, at least physically, is really quite past it for the level that we'd want him to be at. Then I think it's more than plausible if you get a good fee to make that sale in January for a player that you're already expecting to go and that wants to go and play minutes ahead of the World Cup once you've got Guehi through the door. But yeah, that's a kind of rough look at what that team could be like. And then when you're thinking about going into next season, you've got Vardio to come back and you've got 5 centre-backs there and you've got a decision to make on what you want to do with the full-backs. Do you want to move on somebody like Rico Lewis or move him into midfield? Does Matheus Nunes stay as your starting right back? Do you look at another option? Do you leave that spot open because you've got players that can play at right back in somebody like Elaine, Kusanov, etc.? Can those guys do a job there? So you're happy to leave that spot open to share those minutes, or maybe bring back somebody like Vitor Hayes. There's a few different options for the team there, but at least with the back line, and then also with all the players on loan, once you add Guehi in, there's a tremendous amount of depth there, and it's not a problem that we're going to be looking at. Somebody like Ruben Diaz, who eventually will move on, I don't think you're concerned about that succession plan anymore with the depth of talent that we have. Somebody like Guehi, Vardiol, by the time Diaz is moving on, those guys should have been stepping into that kind of senior role as a central defender, and be in a good spot. And then obviously you're looking at, do you need another winger? Do you need more midfielders? Obviously heavy links to Elliot Anderson and others. But for the most part, in a very good spot. We'll just move on so we can stick on to Guehi in this video. This is a look, WT Analysis. They have an app I really recommend checking out. It gets some beautiful graphics. This is one of them. On the ball, Guehi is somebody that's more than capable of carrying the ball out from the back, as you can see from these purple marks up here. These are the progressive carries to drive the ball forward out from the back, and also step past the first line into some space in the middle of the pitch. He's capable of doing that. Then you've got all the progressive passes in green from Guehi, as you can see, somebody that's more than capable of playing through the block, around the block, and over the top. As you can see from some of these passes, likes to play that chip pass over the top at times, and he likes to play the switch out to the right hand side, as well as looking to find players inside the box. You think about Muniz playing as that right wing back. Guehi has been very threatening, finding him over on that opposite side. Same kind of pass that we'll be needing for our wingers, to find somebody like Semenyo on that right hand side, somebody like Cherki. In certain games, the fullback Mateus Nunes, if he's really pushing up high on that right hand side, Guehi is able to play those passes, and that's something we would have lost with Josko Vardiol being injured. So that's one thing there. This is his progressive passes from the 23-24 season. Not as many carries as you've just seen from this season, but as I mentioned, all of these clusters of passes over to that right hand side. That's something we're desperately going to need with Josko Vardiol out the team and looking for a centre-back to come in. It would be a big worry if we were bringing in a left centre-back that couldn't pick out these passes. And being able to use both feet is why it opens up those angles for Guehi to play those passes. It's something Van Dijk's been very good at as well. But yeah, Guehi is definitely able to play those passes, and that's been a consistent part of his game for a couple seasons. This is the 22-23 season. As you can see, no problem progressing through the lines, going around the opposition block, as well as all of these switches out to that right-hand side for Muniz, the fullback, as well as the wingers over on that side. This is one looking at his defensive zone success. So this is a really good indicator of all the work he does defending the flank as well as the half space. And that's something that when you've lost Josko Vardiol, you do need from your centre defenders. Nathan Ake isn't that kind of proactive, aggressive defender in these situations to be able to win the ball out wide and have the pace to recover and adjust like he was in the 22-23 season with the injuries that he's had. But Guehi's more than comfortable playing out wide to defend those spaces, as well as in the half space and recovering the ball. This is all of his actions in terms of attacking actions, defensive actions. So you see a lot of his work in the box. As a box defender, he is somebody that is exceptional. 1v1, closing down the space, limiting the time the opposition player has, being able to make himself big and imposing. Really keeps his balance. I know people have mentioned about his height, but that comes into effect with him being somebody that's very agile in the box, that has the balance, that can adjust their body to limit the space and get a foot in and block that pass, block the cross, block the shot. Inside the box, Guehi is exceptional as a box defender. A big thing we've lost with Ruben Diaz as well. So yeah, definitely a big one to bring him in, and shows you a lot of where his work takes place. We're talking about on that left-hand side, having to be aggressive, stepping up into the opposition half, but then also defending the flank. These are all essential for City, even though Palace play in a back three. City play often in a three when they are in possession, and a lot of the situations they'll have to defend in when in that back three, Guehi has plenty of experience with. So I think that will definitely help him. And that is one of the kind of big things for me when you're looking at Guehi across his time at Crystal Palace. So he's played in a back four. Earlier in his career, he's played in a back three, playing on the left-hand side. Played for England in a back two as that left centre-back and as a right centre-back. So that kind of versatility in the way that he needs to defend. So if he has to defend right on the flank as a centre back, if he has to defend a little bit more narrow in the half spaces, Guehi's able to adapt his game to deal with those situations, and that is absolutely what you need for a Manchester City defender. With the way that Pep likes to play, but also the way that Pep will like to change the team. You can't have players that are locked into playing only players that kind of, as exceptional as Laporte was, he didn't give you that kind of versatility across the back line and where he would play. But Guehi is able to bring that as a defender on and off the ball, which is going to be very, very valuable for the team. This is what I'm talking about with the kind of ball recoveries. This is the 22-23 season. He's improved a lot through the year, so certainly his decision making after recovering the ball to then make the pass, retain the ball, as well as to look to progress the ball forward. He's improved a lot in that aspect. But as you can see, this is somebody that's excellent at recovering the ball in those half spaces, stepping into the opposition half to win the ball high at the pitch, being aggressive and tight to attacking players, having to follow them out wide as well. All of these situations he's comfortable with, and I think that's something that when you look at Josko Vardiol first arriving, he had to make that adjustment in the Premier League with how much defending he had to do out wide, whereas Guehi would come in already with that experience ready to go. This is recoveries from the 23-24 season. Again, a lot more defending out in that flank as well as in the middle. This is the 24-25 season, so last season, the post-recovery actions. And this is the kind of thing I was talking about in making those improvements. He's able to retain the ball a lot, but also looks to progress the ball forward when he does have those opportunities. And that's something he's improved with significantly over the last couple of years. I think his passing accuracy, post-recovery, 84.2%. If I remember correctly, this season is around 85%. And then the 23-24 and the 22-23 are more like 60, 65, 70 sort of percent. So he's made that step up and being a lot more secure on the ball, as well as adding more progressive passes once he gets those opportunities. This is his aerial impact. Again, by Pranav. I highly recommend checking out the account. Puts out loads of great graphics. He is somebody that's definitely underrated in the air. This season, he wins more aerial duels per 90, 2.65, I think it is, than Ruben Diaz, than Josko Vardiol. 65.4% win rate, more than Ruben Diaz, more than Josko Vardiol. Our starting centre-back pairing. He's improved a lot, again, in this aspect in the last couple of seasons. Particularly this season, he's been very good in the air. As you can see by this graphic here, rated very highly. And particularly, even with his height being 6 foot, he has a great leap at times well, but also he's very intelligent with disrupting the opposition jump, being tight and aggressive, using his arms, etc. So that even if he's losing the initial contact, he's still able to control that situation to make it favourable for where the ball lands for a teammate, to be able to win that ball, to jockey with the opposition player, and all of those sort of things, like having to move out wide and win those aerial duels, jockey with the opposition player, make interceptions, step into passing lanes, being able to get round and get in front, to step on the ball, all of these sort of different things he's learned from playing with Palace in these different positions across the back line, that's then put him in a good position to step right into Manchester City, not needing to learn these situations compared to some of the younger defenders like a Vito Hayes that is having a very good season at Girona but had a lot to learn, and he's got that room and certainly minutes as the leader for Girona for minutes this season. He's got that room to grow and learn and make those mistakes and be in those situations, face those my bad. He's able to put himself in those situations to face those strikers, those centre forwards, and learn from those games rather than make those mistakes playing for City at the time. If that makes sense. So that's why Guehi would come right in. I think this is something though, in terms of directing two teammates, you'd probably want to see a little bit more of an improvement from him. As I said, wins a lot more in the air over the last couple of seasons. This is his aerial duel win percentage, as you can see, along there with some of the best centre-backs in the league. Directing to a teammate, though, you'd want to see that improvement here. He's alongside Joachim Andersen. I think also when you're looking at the team, he's going to move from Palace to City, and City will have a lot more emphasis on those second balls. You'll always have somebody like Rodri, Nico Gonzalez, Phil Foden, Bernardo Silva that are there to be able to pick up those second balls you'll have the teammate to direct those to. So I think, though, putting him in those sort of situations, playing for City, you should see this number increase. But that's definitely something you'd want to see improve when he joins City. This is his box defending template, as I mentioned. This is, again, from Pravanav. This is one of the many excellent graphics he puts out. So I do recommend you go and check out his account. I believe this is from last season for his box defending. And yeah, as I mentioned, he's exceptionally good at defending in the box, something we desperately need. When you look at how we were defending against Manchester United, as well as some of the young defenders have done, you need those senior defenders inside the box that can make those decisive actions. So yeah, Guehi will be it will be a really big addition inside our own box, making those clearances and so on. But yeah, that's pretty much the end of the video. I just wanted to kind of give my thoughts on why they would be interested in Guehi, what he could bring. I think it's a very good signing with the value all the way around. When you're looking at the player that you are getting that is homegrown, that can play in different positions, comfortable on either foot, very experienced, defends the box very well. For a team that is missing a senior defender, at least until Ruben Diaz is back later in February. And then alongside Ruben Diaz, you have a very good, solid partnership there. Whilst knowing you could rotate in somebody like Kusanov, you could use him on the right back spot. You can use his pace alongside one of those two defenders, and you just have a lot more options, and you don't have to rush somebody like Max Elaine to develop too quickly. So yeah, I think it'd be a very good signing. It's something that's going to keep us in a lot of competitions. When you look at the Cup and the Premier League and the Champions League, desperately need this kind of player in right now to make a difference. Otherwise, all of those competitions could escape us quite quickly. And then also for the future, as Guardiola and others mentioned, this is not a signing for right now. It's a signing you're making for the long term, for 5-6 years. This is somebody that's going to be an England starter for those years to come, and is able to provide value across that back line in different roles, in different positions, and always be consistently available. Somebody you can depend on. So yeah, that's pretty much it. My thoughts. Please let me know down below if you think there's anything I've missed out, anything you've got questions on. Let me know. I'll jump in the comments and we can have that conversation. Make sure you like the video to help support the channel, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on the next video, and we'll be back with plenty more content this week.